Everything. Hello, Sammy. You made
Hello.
it.
I
You
just
just
made it.
made it.
Uh,
Um,
Part of the reason that I was late was because of a project that we're working on. So I feel like I
that's
should
right.
get like a little off the
Yeah.
hook.
No, you definitely do. I'm like all talked out, so I gotta, I gotta drink some
You've been
water. Hold on.
bitching. Thank you. Thank you for
You
stalling. Hello.
you gotta drink some water too.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, hopefully I have a couple, I don't know, I have some good things to offer.
You have
We'll find
so
out.
many. You have so many great things to offer, and that is why I'm doing this. I get to work with amazing people like you, and I think it's just interesting to see how you think the journey into making, well, at least in my sake, in my point of view, I thought it was a very straight and narrow path to filmmaking, and that's what I focused on. And I found there's so many, the more you get into it, the more your sort of mind opens and you see like it just branches out to so many other kinds of projects and positions and things that I would love for you to talk about, because if you notice the title of this live is a non-traditional creator, and that's what I think you are. Because when I was trying to categorize this, I was just like, well, she's a director, she's a producer, she's a storyteller, she's done live shows, she's a copywriter, she's done guerrilla marketing, you've made partnership. There's so much you've done and touched, parades and marches, and I'm just like, all
So
right,
indeed. Yeah.
let's find out, let's unpack this. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, one, where are you calling from? And or where you call home, and then two, it's like, how'd you get started in this
Yeah.
crazy
In
biz?
all of this.
Yeah.
Um, I am calling you from Williamsburg. I'm based in New York now. For a really long time, I was based in LA.
Hmm.
And I I'm like heartened by hearing that you have trouble categorizing what I do, because I also do. And I mean, maybe this is kind of the first
Awesome.
piece of advice. I have I think it's left over from like an older generation, but I think that I have to this day a little shame that like I have been such a generalist, and I am so hard to
Hmm.
categorize. I don't really have a great elevator pitch. Um, I've jumped
Yeah.
around from thing to thing, sort of following my interests, and instead of like committing to one direction.
Right.
And I think it's a little embarrassing because everyone wants to have a strong brand and you want to be able to say this is the thing that I do.
Hmm.
But I actually, I don't know. I'm trying to give myself more grace around it, because I kind of think it's the new normal. I think like for, I'm an elder millennial, or I'm probably squarely a millennial. I feel like for Gen Z or Gen Alpha, like doing a whole bunch of things is
Hmm.
very normal and natural. And I think because the industry is changing so much and has been so volatile and is only going to continue to be,
Yeah.
that like maybe it's a superpower and not a weakness to have done a lot
Amen.
of things.
Amen. Absolutely, it is. I used to see things like I'm a multidisciplinary artist or something like that, and I'd be like, "Oh, you mean you're still trying to figure it out?" But, but I, I take that back. The older and wiser I've gotten, the more I'm like, yeah, all of these things make me.
Yeah,
I'm not that person in this box. I can be a magician, and I can be a film producer, and I can make commercials,
yeah,
and and be a dad. Like there's all these different things,
and
and
they
they make
make
up
you better at the other
and make
things
you
too.
better. Yeah, and is it hard to categorize, to brand? No, because then you're just branding as I do it all. I have experience doing a little bit of
Yeah,
everything. I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's there is a tension there, right? Like I
Mhm.
understand when and looking to set up my own projects, like, and you hear from someone that they do everything, that makes it a little harder to know how to use them. So
Yeah.
figuring out how to tell the story that you do a lot of different things,
Hmm.
and knowing when to bring up, hey, I also direct, or like,
Right.
hey, I can
Yes.
help with the influencer strategy or whatever it may be. That's
Yeah.
also like something that you do have to feel out and like respect that it's on you to do the work of the storytelling and like
Hmm.
framing yourself, thinking of who you're talking to, like who's your audience? Are they
Yeah.
going to be receptive
Yeah.
to the, like, activist side of me, or are they going to
Yeah.
be receptive in this moment to
Yeah.
the copywriter side of me, or whatever it may be? So yeah, I certainly haven't nailed it, but I am trying to shift my mental framework of seeing it as like a weakness to a strength.
Here's my kind of rule of thumb. I never perform magic until somebody else brings it up. They'll be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
but did you know John's also a magician?" Or "Did you know John also has a feature film that he's made?" Or something like that.
Yeah,
And that way, it's always better coming from someone else's mouth that, you don't,
yeah,
but maybe you're in a conversation with someone about your specific brand or whatever it is that you're trying message that you're trying to get across, but maybe you withhold some, you don't tell them everything you do, but if someone else brings it up, it makes it that much better.
yeah,
um yeah.
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 That's ideal when that can happen. I
Like,
think like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm jumping into like advice rather than my story.
Hmm.
But it also just makes me think of, like, since we're on the subject, I think that if I could give my younger self any advice, which I know I'm jumping ahead, but I feel like
It's okay.
since
Yeah.
sort of talking about like what kind of creative I am, and how people are multifaceted, and like how you can see that as a good thing or a bad thing. I think that also the older I get, the more I wish when I was younger, I had been less afraid of being cringe. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had all these interests my whole life, but I think that I repressed a lot of them. And I'm just now starting to like tap back into my desire to be a director and tap back into some of these things, because for so many years when you're in your 20s you're trying to prove yourself. Like, I really wanted to be professional and I didn't want to share some of that
Hmm.
more personal, passion stuff
Yeah.
with people, for fear that it would be cringy or that I would be bad at it, which everyone is when they're starting something,
Yeah.
new.
Yeah. you
Yeah.
thought you thought
So
it was cringy to bring up your other passions, or what?
yeah, yeah, or even for myself, like to admit to myself that I had an interest
Mm.
in an area
Mm.
that like I might not immediately be great at, that might take some time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish I had been a little bolder, I think. I can give an example which will help answer the question.
Please do. Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
um, so I went
Because
to
maybe then our other viewers could also be like, wait, that's how I feel right now.
totally.
So, yes, give us
Yeah.
an example.
So, so I went to school in California, and I mean, this is a great example. I had been a performer my whole life, and I think in another life I would have been a theater student, but I didn't come from a family where you could like study that, that kind of felt a little cringy to be like, I want to be an actor. So that was not part of what I did when I got to LA. I studied communication. I did some performance stuff on the side, but I was sort of friends with a lot of people in the comedy world, actually, like Beck Bennett and Kyle Mooney and Dave McCary, all these people who ended up on SNL. We were
Oh,
all in
wow.
school together,
Yeah.
and I did comedy with them in college, and I helped film some of their first sketches, which got them kind of launched. And so
Mm.
later on, I ended up working with them as their producer at one of the first multi-channel YouTube networks.
Yeah.
And this was like in 2010, really early days of YouTube.
Yep. Yeah.
At this company, it was just made up of a bunch of YouTubers who decided to pool their resources and create a studio. It was like the golden age, when
Yeah.
like there was
Yeah.
no one knew what YouTube was going to become. It was just like funny money. People were getting millions of views. They were making all this cash, and like we could just make whatever we felt like, a music video, a comedy sketch, whatever. So I was doing that with these SNL kids before they were on SNL,
Hmm.
and producing for them. And and everyone, you would walk through the halls of this startup, and everyone had their phone out like this, and they were filming themselves, and they had their own channels. And
Right,
I didn't want to be just another person who was trying to start a channel, because I was there as a producer for my friends. And
right,
then, as I was there, I started producing for bigger and bigger influencer talent. We didn't even have that word at the
right.
time. But, I wanted them to
I
see
think
me as like,
viral was the name. It was like we wanted to be viral video creators or viral.
yeah,
We wanted to get a video to turn viral. Yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were still
And
directors and all that stuff.
this was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was such a weird time. And I think back now, and if I had just picked any topic and started a
Mhm.
channel about anything, there were so few people on the
Anything.
platform.
Yeah.
You know, I could have done it literally from my desk because everyone was doing it. It wasn't like, I just had this feeling of like, I want to be the professional. And I think it was
Right.
also because I had done my duty. I had done a year as an assistant at a talent agency where they're like throwing staplers and like everything. You have to be so on top of your stuff and like so professional, and you can't bring any of your own personality to that job.
Hmm.
No one cares about you, no one cares about your
Right.
passions.
Right.
you know so I think I still kind of had that in my mind, that that's how Hollywood worked.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was just embarrassed. But I think now, like, man, like, what would my life have been like? Not that I want to be a full-time content creator, like influencer. That lifestyle is, you know, challenging in a lot of ways, but it could have opened some really cool doors for me. And I was too scared of a little bit of embarrassment, that ick, that like cringe.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think, that's an example. We're looking back, I would have been like, who cares? Yes, it's cringy. Just try it and see what
Yeah.
happens, you know?
Yeah.
You feel like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even the idea of like, should I just do a TikTok? I'm not, I swear to God, I'll never do a TikTok dance. I'm not that coordinated. But I could talk about anything on TikTok.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can see like a lot of people from my generation like still like we'll use it for content consumption, but
Yeah.
the idea of being a creator on it is still a little bit, yeah, cringy, I guess you
Yeah.
could say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
kind of going back to also like so you started there producing this YouTube kind of stuff, and so were you like, oh, I'm going on the producer track,
yes.
no
Well,
director track, producer track.
I sort of had this feeling of like, I wanted to be Tina Fey, you know?
Mm,
I wanted to
right.
like, I wanted to make a bunch of stuff and maybe at some point down the road, like put myself in it.
Yeah.
And I had, like I said, I worked at a talent agency, and I realized I really did not want to be a talent rep.
Mhm.
That it was, I just missed, I wanted to be making the thing. I didn't want to be
Ah, yeah,
helping the person making the thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, when I got there and we were just like, whatever the YouTube talent felt like making, we would figure it out and we'd go make it.
Mhm.
That was like, that was my film school. It was like, it felt like summer camp. It was so creative and fulfilling. It felt like, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary about the early days at Pixar, but it just felt like that,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
a bunch of young creative people
Mm.
making stuff with their friends. It was so awesome.
Right.
and and then things took a turn, this unexpected twist. But sometimes my sort of, I guess, if there's been any pattern in my career, it's been like, sometimes the door will just open and you just walk through just because it's interesting, like what might be behind it.
Yeah.
And so this happened where I was I was producing for like 8 comedy channels on YouTube, and one of them was at the time the number one YouTuber in the world, and by a lot, by like twice as much as everyone next to him. He had I want to say like 4 million subscribers, and the next closest guy had like one. Like that number, 4 million, was nuts. Like no one could wrap their head
Right.
around it.
Right.
And he really was like one of the first YouTube stars. He couldn't walk down the street in any city, you know, without being mobbed, but no one in Hollywood would take his calls. And
Mm. Hmm.
he was making more money than he ever thought he would, but like he just didn't know, because there was no model for him. So he didn't really know what to do, and he was getting really burnt out on his channel.
Yeah.
And I was producing for him, and we had a really good rapport, and I was the only person at that company with any traditional industry experience,
Uh,
because I'd been an assistant for a year. But I knew
right.
enough. Like I knew who the players were. I knew like how things worked, how you could pitch shows, you know,
Hmm.
all that stuff. And so I just started kind of giving him advice, like colleague to colleague. And he ended up basically talking with the founder of the company, and that founder and that sort of executive team came to me and asked me to become their first in-house talent manager
Mm.
and have this guy be my first client,
Right.
which would mean that I'd have to give up producing for everybody
Right.
else, and I would just be working with this guy.
So instead of
Um,
creating, you're back to the thing that you didn't want to do, which
that I
was
knew I
just
didn't want to do.
yeah.
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 But
Hey, Brad.
it was exciting, and it felt like I felt like I knew how to solve the problem that they had, and I don't think anyone else did. Like I could see very clearly how to help this guy. And I was also, I think, seduced by like the idea of being, you know, a YouTube talent manager, one of the first ever, and having my first client be the number one guy on the planet, like at the age of, you know, 24 or something.
Hmm.
So I said yes, uh, and always knew it would be a temporary thing, but I just kind of wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that was wild. That kind of kicked me off on this wild ride where I was this like young executive in this world, um, being a talent manager, and that led me to helping not only him, but then I moved to another company. I became their first head of talent. It was called Full Screen, um, and I was working with the top talent on the platform to help them develop their content. What do they want to be making more of? What do they enjoy? You know, what
Hmm.
um, like audience development, you know, who was watching them, why were they tuning in, how could we get to more of those people, or how did we want to expand it to a different audience, you know, all these
Hmm.
sorts of things I just started kind of learning on the job, and honestly making up because everyone was figuring it out on YouTube at that time. And
Yeah.
then brands started paying attention, and because
Mm.
I was working so closely with the talent, when the brands wanted to work with them or wanted advice for who to work with or what
That's
to make.
that's when the influencer stuff started happening.
Yeah,
Really kicking off.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I sort of like brokered and did the creative development for some of the first brand integrations on the platform.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed
Wow.
that because it was more creative. It was more like what I used to do.
Shoot. So I forgot to include pioneer as one of your digital pioneer as one of your accolades, one of your titles.
Thank you.
Wow.
I was not going to say anything, but
See, that's my job.
very,
That's the best way. Like someone else says it for you.
yeah, right. Thank you. Right. Exactly. Nice. It does feel nice.
Yeah.
But it's from, you know, it was from this very specific, short little moment in history, in internet history,
Right.
that
Right.
unless you lived it, doesn't really matter to anyone. You know, like I'm not getting like a book deal about
Mhm.
this, but I was there and I really did live through it and know a
Yeah.
lot of the people, you know, from that time,
Yeah.
and thought like seeing what it has become today is so crazy, when I think back,
Mm.
you know, to those first projects. But I really enjoyed working for brands, and I realized at that point that I loved development
Mhm.
because, um, and I loved it in the context of like what platform is it for, who's the talent, what's their voice like, and who's the client, like what does the brand need, and sort of weirdly the more cooks there were in the kitchen, or like the more stakeholders, the more I enjoyed that kind of problem solving. And so that has led me in a roundabout way to what I do now, what I'm trying to do more of, which is this branded entertainment stuff,
Yeah.
which kind of lives at the intersection of all of those things.
That's where I was, yeah, I've heard brand entertainment for, back in like 2009 when I was like getting started in advertising, and it's still here, but it's completely changed too.
Yeah,
Like it's changed,
totally.
and that's the thing you're saying, like, oh, none of this matters. It's all like internet history, but at the same time, the internet developed at such an exponential t- pace that I want to say, like, yeah, it's like you kind of blink your eyes and boom, we're here. Those that decade we jumped from, uh iPhone whatever 3 to I don't know what to what we have now. Like we're
Yeah.
shooting films with the iPhone. So it's really crazy, the technological advances. Um, but yeah, like for you to focus in now on branded entertainment using these new, basically like these new tools every day, maybe it's not so cringy to be calling yourself a director because you can do it. Like it's the gateway, the technology has opened the gateway, open it more and to where like now it's a question of like who can write the best content. And I feel like because you come from a traditional background and untraditional, you have like the best ammo versus someone who's just like coming in not knowing who they're talking to. Oh no. So it looks like it looks like Sammy's phone might have died. So we're going to. Hi, Nick. It looks like Sammy's phone died, so she's going to plug in and try to rejoin us in a quick second. Um, but in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the question little bubble, which you should see at the bottom of your page. And okay, sorry about that, everyone. Just a little technical difficulty. Let's see if we can get Sammy to join back in here. This would be a great time to have. Oh, hey, Andrew. Brad, look, Brad's waving at you too, Andrew. Let's see. Let's try to invite Sammy. Here we go. I'm gonna take a quick sip of water. Yeah, magic intermission. Yeah, I should really like get some more stuff around here for me to work with. You seen this? Ah, ah, it's a Bitcoin. No, it's a Bitcoin.
Hi.
Hi. I was stalling for time.
Hi. But I
Thank
couldn't
God.
join on my laptop for some reason, only on my phone.
Yeah.
I was just so engrossed in the conversation. I didn't see my battery.
Yeah. Wait, yeah, I don't think wait, you try to join using using your computer?
Yeah, yeah. It wouldn't. I couldn't like access the invitation to join on the
Oh,
laptop for some reason. But
weird.
sorry.
Weird.
I know. I feel like you should just listen. More magic. I agree, Andrew. People want.
No, no, it's not. That's not. I'm here more for the magic of our
Uh,
conversation, and really the whole reason I do this live video series is because I said it at the top, but in case for the people just joining us, it's all about me kind of sharing to the world these amazing people that I get to work with as a producer, um, and I just feel like it's just it's there's so many nuggets of wisdom that we can offer, and we've all been through the trenches together, making projects here and there. Sammy and I just finished doing a shoot this week. What we had like a pre-light Monday, and then we just shot on Tuesday. VO session today. Brad Go is actually helping us edit, and these are all like to me, it's like just we're a bunch of friends who are very talented, and we can make things happen very quickly. So, oh yeah, that's what I meant. Sure, that is what you meant, Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew, I'm gonna get you on here soon too. So don't think you are protected. I have a question here from Harvey. How do you know when an idea is good enough to pursue? Um, no thanks. Wow. You could tell me that in private late. Okay, okay. Um, how do you know when an idea is good enough to pursue? Harvey, could you clarify? Is that like an idea to for like a position, or are you talking about during the time when Sammy was producing for people?
I feel like I, for better or for worse, I would say I like to an idea to start a production.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I usually my sort of first litmus test is just like, does it light me up?
Mm,
And generally, no. There's a pretty big difference between an idea that's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and something like, oh dude, this is I gotta at least try to make this thing.
hmm.
That's the feeling that I am very like I have a lot of clarity around. It's just sort of always been like that for me. And I think that if you don't have that clarity, I do think it's something that um, you can grow, like you can build that muscle of just kind of that gut feeling. But also sort of like from there, if I'm like, oh, I really like this idea, the way my brain works is I immediately jump to like, okay, what is the fantasy version of this idea?
Hmm.
Like, does it need $1 million? And do I need to,
Right.
be able to have whatever,
I need
X, Y?
Pedro Pascal to star.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then what's the shoestring version of it? Like
Mm,
what's the viable version of it where it still retains the integrity of the idea? Could I just make that with friends? Could I just make that on my phone? Could I call in a favor or whatever? And it usually ends up falling somewhere in between there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's tricky. It's tricky with creative ideas though, because you hear stories all the time about projects that like someone pitched around, for a decade and no one, like Forrest Gump, or like whatever. There's so many of these examples of like no one believed in. Um, uh, what's it called? Oh my gosh, the the Korean show about everybody dying in the games, Squid
Squid
Games.
Games,
Like
yeah. Yeah.
everyone passed on Squid Game, so it's hard to say like, oh well, you'll know the perfect idea because like everyone around you will love it.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
true.
Yeah.
It does have to be like a more internal self-reflection. But I feel like if you follow your energy, that's a good place to
Yeah.
start.
Very good. Yeah, because I would like to, I would like to add, it's just like if you don't have that internal curiosity or inspiration, and inspiration is fleeting too, right? It's like that internal sort of drive to push it along, then, if you're not interested in doing it, then why should anyone else, right? It's very much like if I don't see the enthusiasm or the passion or the ability to push things along, why should I, as a producer, also jump on? If I wasn't even like the originator of the idea, and then I have to pull the originator of the idea along to continue to finish his or her project. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard for everyone. I do feel like, and that's why I have such high respect for directors. They have that drive to tell that story, and it's undeniable. it's they make it seem inevitable that the story will be done, and I'm there um, to support that and be that cheerleader in the moments that are tough. But even when they're tough, I know they're not giving up. They're just it's just a tough moment that we have to figure out, right? Um, so I want to ask you. Oh my gosh, I have these. So I started these little sprouted plants, but they came with like tiny little flies. So and they just sprouted. Yeah. So what are you? This is an obvious uh, question to both you and I, but what are you working on now?
Yes, I'm working on this amazing project with the most incredible executive producer, John Chu. Yeah, actually,
Checks in the
it's
mail.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're just starting post production on a PSA for a really cool nonprofit called Clean Creatives, and they get creative agencies to sign a pledge that they won't work for fossil fuel companies. So it's a really worthy cause, and it's a fun concept that is, I guess, sort of top secret for
It's
now,
top
but I
secret.
think
It'll
it'll,
come out like in 2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Mhm.
And uh yeah, and then there's another project that is for a skincare brand that I think we'll probably be collaborating on um, down the road. It's sort of in this, it's like in script phase right now, but I'm
Yeah.
copywriting on that, which is a new skill set
Yeah.
that I'm,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I guess we'll be creative directing it, and we'll see where it ends up.
Cool.
Also working with this really cool Berlin production company.
Oh
This was
yeah. Tell us about that.
the door opened, and I just decided to like step through it because I could kind of see how I could help. Which I feel like you have that too, John, that thing of like, oh, if I can see how I can help you, then I just will. Like, let's do
Right.
it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Believe I believe in this person and I can see a way to help them. So I was introduced through family friends to these guys that run this really cool commercial production company in Berlin, and they're opening a New York office, and they've got a really cool roster of directors, and I'm gonna be sort of just helping make introductions and see if I can assist getting their sort of foot in the door in the
Yeah.
States. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like a slightly different role than like I've ever had before, but I feel like it's all connected.
That's like an EP
Yeah,
role. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Cool. What's the name of that
I'm
company? In case
sorry.
people want to check them out.
Bad
Yeah.
at plugging stuff. I'm not, used to being on
Yeah.
these sorts of. Um, they're called Bonaparte, like Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, bones.
Um,
Yeah.
the website's bonaparte.tv. Really, I mean, just very cool stuff. Very cool people. I really like their vibe, and it's really interesting too to get a sense of like the global ad world, and how country to country things are slightly different. These sorts of subtleties culturally are really fascinating. They have like close ties to Switzerland and to the Middle East and just all sorts of markets that I haven't really been exposed to before. So that's kind of cool to be learning about that and exposed to that right now.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I call myself a project collector because I always have too many things. So like also this is behind me. This is my voice booth. I do
Oh,
over.
yeah. Yeah.
That's another hustle. And I run an AI variety show slash corporate workshop. So
Oh, yes.
there's
Could
a
you talk
lot.
about that a little bit? Yes, I forgot about that. That was because you were doing live shows in LA
Yeah.
for a hot sec. But like have you brought that to New York?
Yeah. So I mean, again, this sort of like goes back to Harvey's question about just like when do you know a project's good? I mean, I probably say yes more than I should, but I get excited by
Yeah.
ideas. I do, and especially the ones that like where I can see path to doing them, making those ideas come to life with friends.
Mhm.
At that, it's like my kryptonite. So this was one where Mike, my husband, and I were like a year and a half ago when ChatGPT was first kind of coming onto the scene of mainstream kind of consciousness. We both were just like, I guess we should learn how to use these tools, and probably all of our friends need to learn how to use these tools. Why don't we just get a bunch of them together and kind of do like a show and tell and experiment together for each other, like present, different AI experiments. And we thought we would do it in like our home. And then we were like, well, maybe we'll do it at a bar. And 60 people showed up.
Oh,
And so we thought, okay, like we're onto something. Maybe we tapped into something. So we started
how did
refining it,
you
and
how did you publicize that?
we
Like
sent
just your
it
network?
out. Yeah, well, we sent it out to a big like group email,
Mhm.
just saying like, hey, we have this idea. We called it like an open
Yeah.
mic night, but for AI. And we're like, would any of you guys want to volunteer to do this with us, like to perform or present or whatever? And we'll help you come up with what to do. And so we got a bunch of people through that who said yes and who also were just like, I'll come. I'd like to see what you're doing. And then the venue, the bar that we went to, I think posted about it and people
Uh,
came.
oh wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the first one. And then we just kind of kept doing them and we kept refining this format. So it turned into like, we call it an AI variety show now,
Hmm.
sort of like a cross between a talent show and a show and tell, but everyone's talent has to involve AI somehow, like using one of the tools or
Hmm.
making a commentary on what's happening in AI right now or whatever it may be. And yeah, we've done a bunch in New York, we've done them in LA, we had one in Mexico City. And then we realized, because those were just sort of fun and weird and very low stakes, but in the process of producing all of these shows, we started to get really good at like what at figuring out what how to coach people
Ah,
to use these tools
yeah.
and to like make their presentations entertaining for other
Ah,
people. Um,
right.
and so we're like, there's something here. And we turned it into a corporate workshop, which we've now done with Meta's AI comms team. We're doing another one with their like global marketing team next week. We did one with RGA. So that's like pretty exciting. Just kind of taking that format and like having people in an organization do it for each other,
Yeah.
like perform in this kind of a show for each other. So it's like the same idea of if you were to hire an improv group for like a corporate retreat, for like team building or skills building or
Right.
whatever, that plus AI. It's
Oh,
really fun. It's
how
really
do
cool.
people find? Is that on Instagram? Is there like a website for that one?
Yeah, we have a website and an Instagram. It's called It Writes
Yeah.
Itself. Get it?
It writes itself.
Uh-huh.
All right.
It's self.ai is the website and it writes itself.
Oh my
I think it writes
goodness.
itself AI is the
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. We haven't done a show in a couple months, but we'll probably do one pretty soon. And I
Cool.
will let you
Yes. So we are pretty much out of time. I have a rapid fire 20
know. Oh my
questions
God.
to wrap us up.
Okay.
Yes. But everyone, please give Sammy a follow, give It Writes Itself a follow, get in touch with her if you have more questions on anything she's working on, as well as all the way that she was able to navigate her amazing career in multi hyphenates. Yeah, yeah. And if you have a project that you want to burden her with, I mean, have her take on and say
Please.
yes to, bring it
Yes.
on.
Bring it on. Don't tell
All
Mike
right.
I said that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I have this idea. Rapid fire 20 questions. Where were
Yeah.
you born?
Boston.
What's your social security? No, I'm just kidding. Coffee or tea?
Tea all day.
Oh,
Yeah.
specific kind of tea?
I'm just an herbal tea, like on a drip from the moment I wake up to the moment I go.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Chamomile, Lady Grey, peppermint, all of it.
Yeah.
The
As long
whole
as
variety
there's no
pack.
caffeine.
No
Yeah.
caffeine.
When I really need it, I
Yeah,
will drink matcha,
I see.
but that's it. Yeah.
Cake or pie?
Oh my gosh.
Pie.
Pie. I was I was proposed to with a pie.
Oh,
It said, "Will you marry me?" on the pie.
oh
So
my
I'm
God.
biased.
I
Yeah.
also proposed with a pie. It
What?
was key lime pie.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
There's some weird parallels in our lives. The
That is
magician
weird.
thing. Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
specific.
that that is funny. Most productive time of day.
Is
No.
there any? Probably like 5 to 8. Yeah. When like I should
A.M.
stop.
PM.
Like
Oh,
no
PM.
PM. Yeah. Like the end of the workday
Yeah,
is when
yeah.
I get like that burst, and then I end up missing dinner and being really cranky. But I'm so productive.
Um, favorite color?
Ooh, I this is so weird. Red popped into my head. I don't know if it is, but let's say red.
Red.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Mm,
Yeah, that's like my family's Super Bowl. That's like the only holiday that matters.
everyone
Yeah,
comes together for
and
Thanksgiving.
they come to our house. Yeah.
Favorite drink you order at a bar?
Um, I I'm not a big drinker, so I like to do a mocktail, which for me is soda, bitters, and lime.
Soda, bitter.
Because you feel like you're kind of drinking like with everybody else,
Mm,
but it's not
mhm.
actually anything.
Got it. Got it. Dog or cat
Dog,
person?
dog. I'm
All right.
sorry. Yeah.
Early riser or night owl?
Neither.
Neither. What?
I
Okay.
sleep
What this?
in and I go to
You
bed
just.
early.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need my sleep.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably meant to be an early riser.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm married to a night owl, and so I go to bed late, and then I'm tired, and I can't wake up early.
And you hit that snooze button. Is that what
Yeah,
happens? Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what are you always grateful for?
Um, oh man, that's such a good question. Oh, I'm really grateful for my friends and family. I think that's probably like every day the thing that I just
Mm,
about how lucky I am.
that gives you, yeah, that gives you everything, the energy you need. Um, what is a favorite crafty snack item on set?
Um, I really like fruit snacks because I never get to eat them.
Fruit snacks,
I
yeah.
like when they're on
You are
set.
like it's like 3 for 3 right now for fruit snacks on these interviews. Everyone's like,
Really?
yeah, yeah. Uh, what what do you never leave home without? Like, what's
Mm,
I guess like there's like the normal stuff, but I don't know
okay.
if there's something else.
I feel really, I don't like wear a ton of makeup, but I just feel so vulnerable and like exposed if I leave home and I've forgotten to bring my
Bring
makeup
this up.
bag with me.
Uh,
Actually, on our shoot day when I was
yeah,
directing,
yeah.
I I couldn't find it for the first time in like years. I couldn't find my makeup bag,
Uh-huh.
and so I wore glasses. I actually don't wear glasses, but I have them just in
They're
case.
non-prescription
They're
glasses.
clear. Yeah, I'm sharing my deepest, darkest secret with you
I,
right now.
I should have pointed at
But
you.
I share it because it's a good tip for anyone out there. Keep a pair of
That's the
glasses
Clark Kent.
in case
Uh,
your
yeah,
makeup is available.
yeah. It's the Clark
Or you
Kent
don't feel
sort
like
of
doing it.
disguise.
It's a
Yeah,
whole such a hassle. Yeah.
that's a great tip.
Thank-
Well, what is the last book you read?
Oh, I just read a book called Inferior, which
Mhm.
is has radicalized me against the medical industrial complex and their treatment of women. It's basically
Oh,
like a history of how and in what ways like oh my light just died. Medicine has just completely been biased against women like throughout history and why that may be and like how all of the sort of studies you hear about from time to time about like the difference between the male brain and the female brain or the difference between like male health needs and female health needs and stuff, so much of that is just like
mm,
really biased and horribly researched,
Wow.
and it was just fascinating. Yeah.
Inferior. All right. What is your greatest fear?
Oh God. Oh. You're just gonna hit me with that?
Yeah, yeah.
The book I read? Uh,
You don't. It
I
it could be something like spiders or something too.
that's thank you for giving me the permission structure to give something
Yeah.
light like that. I think that I really want to make the most of my time in this
Mm,
life.
mm, mm.
And I want to I want to feel at the end of my time that like I gave it my best shot. And so I think the flip side of that is I'm motivated by the fear that I won't have that feeling. That's deep,
Uh, that's very
heavy.
deep, and I could tell you right now, the number of people you've already touched is probably that's probably not going to be an issue.
Oh,
Yeah,
John.
yeah, no.
Okay.
And uh, let me bring it back up. What's a favorite destination that you've traveled to?
Ooh, Colombia.
Colombia. Oh, yeah. I don't have that on my list. Was there a specific city or area?
Gosh. Okay. This is very personal. There's a lot of incredible reasons to visit
Uh-huh.
Colombia, but I am gluten free,
Oh,
not by choice.
right.
And the food is so incredible and there's so much of it that just like naturally doesn't have wheat
Oh,
flour.
yeah.
And so I just felt like I could eat like everybody else. It was awesome.
You're just like, yes, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Um, and then for the last three questions, this counts as three questions, but what are three of your favorite movies?
Oh my gosh. This is such a weird
They
one.
they don't have to be in order, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Team America
Oh my,
was like a seminal
oh my God.
film in my life.
Yeah. That
I loved
deserves so
it.
many rewatches. Yeah.
Oh, I loved it so much. Um, okay, so a more kind of intellectual, like deep
I
cut
mean,
would be
isn't it
this.
Team
I mean,
America?
yeah, the way that you think about it. Um, uh, there's a film called Little Murders,
Uh-huh.
from like the late 60s, and I really loved that period
Mm.
in literature and in film, and uh, it's a dark comedy and it's really quirky, and there's just something that like when I saw it for the first time it just really struck a chord with me, so go check that out if you want something off the beaten path. And then another funny fun one that I just love more than anything, I'm really into Christopher Guest and the sort of mockumentary
Yeah.
genre,
Yeah.
but oh my gosh, what is it called? The beauty pageant one. Come
Mighty.
on.
Well, no.
No,
Oh, Best in
not the Christopher Guest one, but in that style. Oh, with Kirsten Dunst. Oh my God, Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Drop
Oh,
Dead Gorgeous. Oh, okay.
I just had such a brain fart. But
Yeah.
yes, Drop Dead Gorgeous, classic, start
Wow.
to
Okay.
finish.
That's
Yeah,
that's a mockumentary or a
yeah.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
style in that style about beauty pageants.
Oh,
It's
oh
so
yes.
good, and the
Okay. Yeah.
cast is stacked. It was actually directed by one of the guys from The State, if you remember
Mm-hmm.
that like sketch comedy group from way back. I mean, they've done a
Yeah.
million things now, but anyways,
Yeah. Michael
eclectic.
Patrick
But
Michael Patrick Jan. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's his last?
Awesome.
Anyways,
Yeah.
thanks for putting me on the spot.
No, that oops. No, no. I mean, like those are three very diverse answers. Like mine's are dumb. Mine's
Yeah,
are just like their
what
own.
are your?
They're like the blockbuster kind of movies, like Back to the Future, um, Aliens, and then like um, what is it? The Prestige.
Oh,
So there's
yeah,
like I
makes
mean, but
sense.
yeah, yeah. But they're pretty like if we were to go like we don't get into more obscure stuff until maybe like number 8, 9, or 10 of
Mm,
my list.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Because then
yeah.
it's just like Jurassic Park and it's like
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Those are
Yeah.
like those popcorn movies. I mean, those are classics for a reason, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Those
You know, you think about it like Indiana Jones was an indie movie. You know, it was not a franchise.
so
And
wild
it
to
was
think
a
about.
why yeah, it was like hey, we like the old like serials, you know,
Mm,
kind of shows what was it like Flash Gordon kind of stuff. Let's just do it with a archaeologist. So yeah, those ideas, which eventually became huge franchises,
yeah.
Star Wars, and all that stuff. So that's my belief of like the indie film that turns into the franchise.
Mm.
That's what
Uh,
I would like to make one of those.
I
Um,
believe, I believe you can do
thank
anything.
you. I believe you do too, and thank you for spending all this time with us, especially for someone who values their time on this planet. And hope you have a great Friday. Thank you, everyone who joined us. And like I said before, give Sammy a follow if you haven't already, and send her any messages if you have any questions. Don't send me any messages. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, thank you so
This
much, Sammy.
was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
And I
you.
love working with
I
you
love working with
and I love
you
you.
more. All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Bye.
Bye.